Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to a special OAA Now YouTube edition here. I am Sammy Taormina here. We got the coach of the Avondale Yellow Jackets, Coach Jim Carlisle, who is in his first year with the program. Coach, thank you for calling in this week.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it.
When you look at when you look at what drove you to take the Avondale job after some successful time in the Thumb area, what drove you to take over this program?
What made me want to take the Avondale job?
Yep.
Well, first of all, one of my mentors, Elliot Uselak, he told me, before you take a job, you got to look at three things. Number one, you got to look at facilities, you got to look at the athletes, and you got to look at the schedule. Because if they all check off, then you need to take the job. And they all checked off big time.
When you look at a course, let's talk about your past coaching experience. You were at Imlay City from 2018 to 2022, and then you took the Vassar job. Talk about the differences between those two jobs, the Imlay City job and also the Vassar jobs.
Not much difference at all, just geographically and logistically, a lot of driving to go everywhere. The kids were about the same, to be quite honest with you. It was a direct parallel move in comparison. Not one team was better than the other.
And then you look at a course, coming into the OAA. What differences have you seen between the Greater Thumb Conference and the OAA?
Well, I know one thing. We go to a away game, I can be there in 20 minutes. In the Greater Thumb Conference, it'd be an hour and a half commute. It'd take us literally an hour and a half to get to Harbor Beach. So just things like that. Going to scout and everything, you'd be out there all day. I live in Novi, so I was driving an hour and a half one way for practice, 3-hour commute every day. Now, here at Avondale, I'm 22 minutes away.
And when you look at a course, I got experience being up in the Thumb area. I got a summer home up in Caseville. Obviously, you playing against the likes of Harbor Beach, playing against Ubley.
Yeah.
I know that it's a challenge with the travel and all that. When you look at distance, obviously talk about the what do you think the field's going to be? And I've looked at your schedule early on, and and your schedule is interesting. I know you didn't do the schedule, but you got a week 1 game against Cedar Springs on the road, and then week 9 against Carlton Airport, both games on the road. So talk about, let's talk about, and this is where the schedule comes in, the travel, and you got experience traveling long distances. So talk about, having that, tell your team to have to travel those distances to start off the year.
Well, it's funny, it's funny you said that, because I told Melissa, whoever, penciled in and scheduled that Cedar Springs job or a Cedar Springs game should have been fired. I don't know why in the world we're driving 3.5, 4 hours for a daggum football game. I can find a game within a half hour here with just as good competition. But, it is what it is. It's our second-year contract with Cedar Springs, and we're out after this year. I'll find another game 1. And then the same thing on game 9 with Airport. That didn't make sense to me either. We'll be looking for another game 9 to schedule for next year, and I'll find somebody closer.
And then when you look at, of course, the rest of the schedule, you got week 2, you're going against Seaholm, a Veer team. I mean, obviously, you know how hard it is to stop the Veer, so talk about having to play a team like Seaholm week 2.
Well, we got our hands full with them. Because Cedar Springs is going to be a very good team. They're going to go right into a gauntlet with Seaholm, who's going to be very good, too. So we've got a very, very challenging next couple of weeks. And Seaholm's going to be well coached. They're going to be well disciplined. And we're going to have to play a really good game to stay competitive with it and take it late.
And the same question, you got Macomb, Lutheran North, and also Groves in here before we talk division. Obviously, taking on Macomb, Lutheran North, it's going to be a tough matchup. They've been a proven Catholic League power. So talk about any experiences you've seen playing against the likes of against Macomb, Lutheran North.
Well, just a lot of times when we'd go against Catholic League teams, when I was at Mount Carmel, there was always tough teams like that. And then, of course, the River Rouge, we always go against a couple of tough Catholic League teams, too. And, you just got to play really good ball. You can't make any mistakes, because if you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay for it. And they're going to be physical. They're going to be fast. They're going to be well coached. And you got to step your game up and raise the bar. And then
you have week 8 against Groves, and Coach Flaherty's team really well.
Yeah.
You know what he likes to do. So talk about having to play Groves week 8.
Well, I've got that one circled as as the toughest in my opinion. Every schedule is got 3 cupcakes, 3 middle schools, and then or middle teams, I should say, and then 3 toughies. And I've got Brian's schedule as one of the toughies. So we'll have our hands full with him. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be physical, and we got to bring our A game for them.
And then, of course, let's talk the conference, your division. You're in the gold this year. Talk about, you know what I mean, when you look at this division, Avondale last year won the division. So what is your thought process when you look at the division?
I think we should be in the race to win it again, to be honest with you. We got a lot of talent on this team and a lot of speed, and they've been coached up really hard over the summer, and we feel like we'll be right in the race with it. I think Ferndale's going to be much better. I think Berkeley's going to be much better. So I think it's going to be a very interesting race all the way throughout the season. There's 3 or 4 teams that probably can win the league.
And then let's look at, of course, the personnel. Obviously, Avondale has been known for their athletes and also, the offense that they've ran. I mean, I know in the last couple of years they ran a wing T offense, but they've also had a lot of success running a spread under former legendary coach G. Deutsch. So, and you're bringing back the spread. So talk about the spread offense and how important, you've had a lot of success with this offense at when you were at Imlay City and at Vassar, and talk about the success of the spread.
Well, that's the thing about it is I've been running the spread ever since 2002 when I was an Inkster, and that's when I really kind of fell in love with it, and it's just taken off from there. And each year I just try to get better with it. But yeah, we have the athletes here to where we feel like we can be very successful running the spread, because what that does is that creates our running game, which we feel like we're 3 or 4 deep at running back, where they can take it to the house anytime they touch the ball. So we're just really happy with it right now, and we feel like we'll probably be 60-40, to be honest with you. Pass to run. But, last year at Vassar, I had a sophomore quarterback threw for 3,300 yards and 34 touchdowns. And so year before that, I had a sophomore quarterback that was all state. So the system works. It was just a matter of kids buying in and executing. So.
And when you look at, of course, this team you got coming back, I mean, you guys, I know you mentioned in the packet you were very young, but there's some proven players in this roster here. So talk about obviously, your quarterback, and talk about, some proven players that OAA Nation needs to know about.
Well, senior running back, Anthony Burton, we expect him to really lead the path for us and be a leader, and he's been challenged with that. And DJ Edmonds at wide receiver, we feel like he can be an impact player. We got some incredibly good linemen with Caleb Johnson and Paul Stabenbosch, and we just feel like with those seniors, the leadership, they should be able to take the offense where we need to go.
There's a couple players I want to know about too a little bit. The quarterback, obviously Brock Taylor, played last year as a sophomore, going to be a junior this year. Talk about the development that he's had this year, changing from a wing T to the spread offense.
Well, he's really adjusted well with it. He's worked hard during the summer. He goes to camps, and, he's applied himself. He's taking it very seriously. And he's just had an extremely good summer. He's improved. He's night and day from our first camp down in Toledo to where it is now. It's funny. We were just talking about that on the phone not too long ago. And he's just very comfortable with the system. His decision process is becoming a lot better. He's got a really good arm. He's starting to understand what we're wanting to do with leverages, things like that. So it's just, I'm excited I can have him for 2 years and see how far he can go.
And then there's one player I wanted to know. He wasn't at media day, Bryce Collins. Talk about how he's been for you guys.
Well, Brian, he's had a good summer, and we're excited what he can do when we get the pads on and start rolling. He still is just a sophomore, so we want to see where he's at physically and mentally. Is he at a senior level or is he at a sophomore level? So time will tell once we start feeding him the ball. But so far, it's been so good. Of course, 7-on-7s, you can't really show a lot of running back attributes because we're throwing the ball so much. But he's improved on catching the ball. He runs really good routes. He played a really good linebacker for us on defense. So he's come along well.
And then let's look at that defense. Obviously, Avondale was very good defensively last year. Talk about, the defense that when you were at Vassar and also at Imlay City, and also talk about this defensive group.
Well, I brought over Ben Scott to run the defense this year. He came from Novi, just a tremendous coach, has a lot of energy, a lot of passion, very intense. And the kids are just feeding off that. So, they play for his defense. You're going to have to be fast and you're going to have to be physical. You just won't be on the field. It's just that simple. The kids say, I play this. First thing ask, how well do you tackle? The first thing ask. I don't care what you run. I don't care how big you are. Can you tackle? Because if you can't tackle, you're not going to play on our defense.
And then let's talk about the returning players. I mean, obviously on defense, any impact players OA Nation needs to know about defensively that this league needs to know about?
Well, I mean, they already know about AB, Anthony Burton, and of course, Brian played some defense too. But we got some kids that are coming up from the JV team. They're going to make a big impact that we're really excited to see and see how far they can go. Caleb Johnson did a real good job on the D-line too. So he's had a really good summer. Very proud of Caleb.
Any X factors, any underrated players OA Nation needs to know about, like some people that are under the radar that this league needs to know heading into the year?
Well, I mean, we've got some kids that we're excited about. I'm not going to exactly give away the farm, to be honest with you. If they show up, they'll show up on film. But we got some kids that we're really excited to see putting the pads on and go at it.
And then let's look at a course program strength. Obviously, you look at Avondale. Let's talk about the youth levels. Let's talk about the middle school levels, and then let's talk about the, of course, the JV program and the freshman JV program. So talk about that, if you may, please.
Well, our junior high program has always got really, really, really good numbers, and we expect to have good numbers again this year. As far as the youth league, it's just out here in the Pontiac area. They just scatter everywhere. So it's just a matter of trying to wrangle them up to see if they're going to come to, the junior high school or not. So I just focus on who's in my school district and, who I know is going to be in my program and who's going to be in the system. So we really focus on the junior high. And we had a youth camp in the summer, and there was some phenomenal talent at the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade level. I mean, those kids were incredible. It's incredible. And they had a great time. And so we're excited about that. And our numbers, like I said, are going to be really, really high. So that really helps feed before we come into our JV level. Our JV team, I expect us to probably have about 22, 23 kids. They're going to be really, really young because we're going to be really, really young on varsity. So that's just how it goes. If you're young on varsity, you're going to be young on JV.
Of course, when you look at being very young, I mean, obviously, you're going to experience a lot of growing pains. I mean, when you look at, and you've had teams in the past that have had experience, and you've had teams that are very young. So how has the transition period been going for you guys? Especially for the players adjusting to you and you adjusting to the players.
Well, I think they've done a great job with adjusting to us because there's been a lot of adjustments to be done, just at numerous levels, at numerous things compared to last year. But our coaches have done a great job with being patient with these young men, understanding, this kid is only a freshman, this kid is only a sophomore. We don't expect him to play like an 18-year-old. Even though he has a skill set level of an 18-year-old mentally, he's still 14 or 15 years old. So my staff's done a really good job with coaching them up, teaching them up, loving them up, and being patient.
And then, of course, let's talk about the community aspect of Avondale. I mean, obviously, you're coming in there. Obviously, you look at this team. Obviously, I know yourself in the last. I know when I look at the record, the last. When you were at Emily City and Vassar. I know you got a lot to prove, obviously. I looked at the record, and you were 21-41 in the last 5 years, in the last 7 years. So talk about, obviously, your goals heading into the year with your new team.
Yeah, well, that was another aspect of why I took the Avondale job, because I feel like we can win immediately here, to be honest with you. The other jobs I took were rebuilding programs. I took jobs, to be quite honest with you, nobody else wanted because they didn't want to have to worry about their record. Well, I don't care about my record. I care about the kids. I care about their experiences. The wins and losses come later. But we did a great job at Vassar. I still think we were 4 plays away. I was talking to my ex-coaches at Vassar this other day. We felt like we were about 4 plays away from being 5-4 last year. It was just that close. My first year there, we should have been 6-3. Just didn't happen. Just didn't work out for us, but it was all learning experience. So that was another thing. Besides, I come here to Avondale, we expect to win immediately.
And when you look at a course, and you look at with Avondale here, taking over a very successful program. When you look at Avondale, I know Avondale's been known for, a lot of success, but the coaching stability, obviously. Talk about being at Avondale long term. Obviously, because you look at this program, Avondale really hasn't had. I mean, they've had a lot of success, but haven't had a lot of coaching stability, a lot of changeover. So talk about, the long-term project you have with Avondale.
Right. Well, it's funny you said that too, because I was just talking to Anthony, about this, and he's a senior, and he was like, "Coach, you're going to be my third coach in 4 years." Well, how do you expect a kid to respond to any kind of stability when it's a constant turnover in the coaching? Because they're thinking, okay, who's going to be here next year? So sometimes, you got to really earn their trust. They're going to be like, you know what, I'm not going to listen to you because it's going to be somebody different next year. It's going to be a different student. It's going to be a different story, different voice. So, and that was one of my goals too. That I talked to Melissa about, Melissa's senior in UAD here. And she was another reason I came here, because I really wanted to work for her, is like, I want, these seventh graders, these sixth graders see my face when they come through the program. It's incredibly important to be stable. Incredibly important. That was another reason why I picked Ben and Tommy to come with me, because they're stable, and they're going to be here in the long run. And that's what these kids need. You hit that right on the head. That's the one missing thing that Avondale's been missing, is stability. And all I can think of is just think how good they could really been if there was a stable face.
And when you look at, of course, you look at Avondale for the postseason. Talk about, of course, if Avondale does get in the playoffs this year, you'll be in Division III. So talk about some teams that you've seen in the past in Division III that, if Avondale does get in the postseason, that does worry you a little bit.
Well, the thing about it is right now, Avondale's in such a weird spot. Geographically, we could go north, we could go west, we could go east. You just don't know. And then you've had Division III schools move up to Division II, a.k.a. Walled Lake Western, a.k.a. St. Mary's. They're Division II schools now. They're not Division III. And that's who we would have been probably going against somewhere in the districts, in my opinion, with Walled Lake Western. Yeah, we'll use gold for JV and purple for varsity. They don't tell the difference.
And then?
What's that?
Oh, carry on.
Yeah, we're just getting ready for equipment hand down and everything. But yeah, so I just gotta, I look at it one game at a time, and we're focusing on Cedar Springs. And then once it gets into week 7 and 8, we'll start kind of graphicing out, look at it graphics wise and see where we're at. I think River Thurston will be there. I think Fitzgerald's going to be there. Obviously, you got King and Rouge, but they're way on the east side. They're going to beat each other out in the district. So we're just going to take it one day at a time, see where we can go.
Team that I've noticed and keep an eye on, obviously, is Fenton. Obviously, that's one team that I've been curious to see what you guys taking on. Could be a possible playoff opponent. So when I look at D3, when I look at, obviously, when you look at teams like St. Mary's and Walled Lake Western not there, I mean, it gives you guys a chance, to maybe have a deep postseason run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you're absolutely right. And we've talked about that. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, because we haven't had our first scrimmage yet. But yeah, that absolutely does open doors and opportunities. You're absolutely right. And like I said, we could end up, that's what I was alluding to, we could go west, and meet up with a Fenton or a Linden or somebody like that. And, that'd be a great football. That'd be a great matchup.
And then let's talk about the community aspect of Avondale. Talk about how important the Auburn Hills community has been to you guys, especially you coming in as a new coach. And then talk about the community aspect of Avondale.
Well, they've been very welcoming and everything. I've had all kinds of support and everything. We've had people come to our 7-on-7s, and we've went to 7-on-7s. We've had parents, help us out with drinks and food and everything. It's just been a great positive step. We had a lot of parents at our parents meeting. I've got all kinds of parents that have signed up to do potluck for the kids. And, we're starting training camp today, and, we're having team dinners in between breaks. And I got so many parents, what can I bring? What do you need? Gatorade, water, plates, buns, chips, so because we have meals every day. So today we're having sloppy joes. Tomorrow we're having pulled pork. Wednesday we're having jambalaya. And then Thursday we're having make your own sandwich. And my wife's doing most of the cooking, but the family, the football family, the parents, they're bringing in everything else. So it's just been a great transition, and it's a great start.
And then let's talk about the one thing that I've always been a critic of is uniforms. So obviously, I did look at your Twitter feed on X. You guys were changing uniforms up a little bit, especially your home ones. So I've been hearing a lot of rumblings that you were going to put nameplates in the back of the uniform. So talk about the jerseys aspects a little bit at Avondale.
Well, we had experience with maybe doing the nameplates, but I went away from it. because what I'm trying to promote here is a team unity. And I feel like nameplates on the back are individualism. So we went away from that late. And like I told some of the kids and some parents, and they didn't like it, but it is what it is. I don't care. If we do put anything on the back, it should be Yellow Jackets because we're all Yellow Jackets. This ain't about individualism. It's about team.
Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about the motto. I mean, like the motto of Avondale, what is your mantra? What is the theme this year for the Yellow Jackets?
Well, the thing about it is with our mottos, we just have 3 team goals right now. And the 3 team goals in training camp is number 1, be on time. Number 2, work hard. Number 3, respect. That's just 3 things we're working on right now. I haven't done a team mantra for the kids yet. We'll do that once training camp breaks because I got to look at it. But if I had to say it right now and, put me on the spot, and we've talked about a little bit, is our next step. We haven't won a district championship. Got the district championship last year and got blown out. We've never been to a regional. Never. So, I'd say our mantra had to be next step, get to the next level. And I think it's just kind of line up for us when we can.
And then let's talk about the academic side of Avondale. Obviously, talk about the importance of academics at Avondale.
Well, it's student first, athlete second. And this is the first time, no, I'm lying. My 2 years at Vassar, no, 1 year at Vassar, I didn't have the problem. But second time in a long time where I got the eligibility report and everybody's eligible. We don't have one kid that's not going to be on a team because of grades. So that's a good start right there. Now we just have to maintain it and keep going.
And when you look at, of course, a program like this, obviously, how are the numbers like at Avondale right now? How are the numbers on both your varsity and on your JV team?
Well, we've consistently had, 35, 38 kids all summer, in the weight room. But, the thing about it is you got kids in baseball, you got kids on vacation, you got kids out of state. I mean, I had 2 kids that are out of the country for a month, for God's sakes. But we're expecting probably, to be honest, about 31 on varsity, about 24 on JV, realistically.
And then let's talk about the importance of multi-sport kids. Obviously, you look at, colleges, they always look at multi-sport athletes. And at Avondale, there always has been a lot of multi-sport athletes. So talk about the importance of multi-sport athletes at Avondale.
Well, it's funny, we had our training seminar with the AD, with the coaches meeting, and that's one thing we was talking about is supporting and promoting multi-sport athletes and not one sport athletes, because one sport athletes is just a one-way street to Nowheresville. So if you want to be looked at by colleges, you got to play multiple sports. When somebody tells me, oh, I'm only going to do this, I'm only going to do that, I'm thinking, good luck. It's just not going to happen. It's just what I'm thinking. So we have really supported that. We've got a lot of kids that are playing multiple sports. We got a lot of kids playing basketball, football, baseball, football, track. Got some kids doing all 3. So that's been a smooth transition for it, but we want it to get better. We can always have more multi-sport athletes.
Before I let you go, Coach, what is the expectation this year at Avondale?
Well, the expectation is, our 3 goals, we want to win league, win district, and get to the regionals. That's simple.
Okay, Coach. Coach Jim Carlisle, I'd like to thank you for calling into the podcast this week. Wish you the best of luck this season, and good luck against Cedar Springs in a couple weeks.
Hey, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. With Avondale coach Jim Carlisle here on the podcast, on the Special Edition podcast. So also thank you for those watching on YouTube this week and watching our special on YouTube. Take care. God bless all. And see you soon.